Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bergenstages Television, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host, and today we have a very special edition of the show because we have three TV alums here who are in our current production of Man of La Mancha, which will be opening on December 1st. So please join me in welcoming our guests, Kevin Maphis, Christine Dunning, and Ethan Vanella. Welcome to the show again, guys.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Good to have you.
Yeah.
I know that you've been here before, but just to refresh our audience's remembrance on who you are and how you got here. So Ethan, can we start with you? You're currently at Bergen?
Sure, this is my third year at Bergen. I've been in the theater AFA program the entire time I've been here. And Man of La Mancha is the third musical that I'll be doing on campus. I did theater all through high school. After doing wrestling for most of my life, I had switched over to theater, so by the time I got to Bergen, I knew I wanted to perform. So I came right in, and I've done a good handful of shows here already.
Cool. And shout out to the high school. Where did you go?
Dumont.
Dumont High School. Good, good. Great, great. Christine.
I graduated from Bergen, but I'm also still a current student because I like to take classes here. I've done a bunch of plays for lots of years, so I'm excited to be back, but this is my first big part in a musical, so I'm very excited about that.
Oh, cool, cool. And you've been here. How did we get you here in New Jersey?
So I grew up in New Jersey. I lived in California for a bit, and then when I moved back to New Jersey, I kind of didn't know really what I wanted to do, and I moved to Bergen County, and I had taken classes at Bergen before I moved to California, so I said, well, let me go take some classes there while I figure stuff out. And I think it's, you never leave sometimes. It's just such a nice place to be that you don't have to leave if you don't want to.
And learning's fun, too.
Yeah,
and
learning
doing
is
cool
great.
thing. Great, great. And Kevin.
Wow. So I actually was a Bergen student back in 2007. We did Forum. We were just talking about that's the first musical.
Our wonderful.
Yeah, the master
Something
from there. And then, I kept doing the theater thing, graduated, went to Montclair for a bit, graduated, moved to California for a bit, came back, because we can never leave. No, it's such a great place to be. And as soon as I heard, we have the alumni theater group that does stuff, so I started doing stuff with them. And then heard about Man of La Mancha, so I auditioned for that.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
And where did you go to high school before you got
I was in Hawthorne High School.
At Hawthorne, I
yeah,
think I
and now
remember that,
I
too.
teach at Ridgewood High School, so
Cool.
I'm staying
Wow,
close.
Wow, that's great, great. And what do you teach at Ridgewood?
I teach acting.
Oh, good.
So
good.
it all works out.
Yeah. And along the way here, you actually met your wife.
Yes. Yeah. Katie, we actually were here on the show talking about Pygmalion back when Pygmalion was a thing. But we met doing The Importance of Being Earnest.
Right.
Which was a lot of fun, and we still like
the rest is
to
history.
work with people here too.
That's good.
We did Life's Not Fair.
And it's right. Oh yeah, Life's
did
Not
that
Fair. We
over
did.
here,
Was
too.
that a year, 2 years?
Feels like it was maybe 1 year ago.
Yeah,
a little
1 year
longer than
ago.
1
Yeah,
year
about
ago.
them now. Yeah. The Renaissance.
Yeah, the Renaissance mockumentary.
That's great. Great. So good. So I think because we've talked a lot about taking acting courses in here at the but what do you think prepares an actor for a musical? What should they do, not just here but in general? What's the key to being a good actor prepared to do musical theater? I don't know who wants to take, but they're looking at you, Ethan.
We warned him we were going to do this.
Well, I think it's definitely important, regardless how an audition goes. Before you walk into the audition room, I like to read a good amount of the show.
Good.
We had the opportunity from Legionitis to get our hands on some of the sides for Man of La Mancha before we ever even got to the audition date, which is a lot of help. Even if you don't know a lot about the source material, I hadn't read Don Quixote prior to the show, but just from spending some time with just pieces of the script that you're going to be auditioning with, and if you were to get into the show working with, regardless of the character, it can give you really good insight and allow your director to see what part of you might be inserting into this piece of art. Because everyone's going to have a different take on an out-of-context side. So just spending some time with yourself and letting yourself be vulnerable with the piece is always a helpful first step for me. Because you warm up your voice, you train your voice and everything, you go to dance practices and
Well, and that's kind of what I want to get at. So, Kristen, maybe you can add to that because I think we do it for every play, even if it's not a musical. Is read the source material. I think that's really great. But preparing for a musical, we talked about dance and voice.
Yeah, there's for musical auditions, there'll often be like a dance part to the audition, and obviously singing. And also for Men of La Mancha, we had a combat audition.
Right.
So warming up your body in a way where you're going to be able to do dancing and singing, but also like just even leading up to that. Before then is. If you can take vocal lessons, that helps a lot.
Definitely.
If you can take general movement classes or dance classes, because I'm not a dancer, but I like to say that I'm an actor that moves, because I've taken some dance classes.
Good.
So just getting some background in getting in touch with your body and your voice so that you can have so much less tension going into your audition.
Great. And speaking of stage combat, so we'll just kind of go into that. What kind of,
I mean, there's a lot of good stage combat courses. I actually don't know. Back when I was here, there was a movement class that involved stage combat.
still does.
So still does. Do we have like a pure stage combat class? Not yet.
Which we did.
We should get that. But we're so close to New York City. New York City has Neutral Chaos, I believe, is one of them. There's a bunch of fight places to go to. So if you have the time and the money, it's recommended. It'll keep you safe. Cool. It'll keep your scene partner safe. And it's just a great thing to have on the resume altogether.
I'm going to add to that, putting it on the resume,
Yeah.
that you take voice lessons and you put who you take the voice lessons with, so people go, oh, Anarella, I know her. There's kind of a conversation started with it. Or a dance class, I take with this particular dance instructor, and they go, where steps go, and then same with stage combat.
And another good thing about it too is theater's such a tight-knit community, but like stage combat's even closer, like a smaller world. So it's a good way to find other gigs because they'll be like, oh, we need a guy who knows how to do this. Come on.
Right.
And you just get pulled along for stuff.
Yeah. And it's more than being just a triple threat. This is almost a quadruple threat for this one, because you have to sing, move well, do stage combat, and of course act in this particular production. And I want to get more into this production because I obviously close to me because I'm directing it, and with Jess Abrams doing our musical direction. It's funny, this is one of the few shows that have a large chorus that doesn't sing a lot. They are in a couple of numbers, but not compared to other shows. And most of the energy of the music is focused on your three characters. So Man of La Mancha, somebody give us a little synopsis of this story, because it's not Don Quixote wrote this brilliant novel, and it's so much fun, and it's been fun for almost 500 years. But this is not a musical of that novel, right? And I just want to, how can we clarify that for our audience to know what they're coming in to see? Christine, can I pick on you?
Yeah, it's, the novel has really kind of clear, wonderful themes of like hope and this man that wants to live in a more idealized world than the really rough one that's around him. But the musical adapted that story to kind of make that message and help it be more clear. So you get a story within a story. So you get Miguel de Cervantes, who is in prison for the Spanish Inquisition. And he tells the story of Don Quixote as a way to express to these prisoners who he is as a person and his ideal view of the world. And so you get Ethan playing both Cervantes and Don Quixote, and everybody else on stage playing prisoners, but also the characters within the show that he's telling.
Because Cervantes gets them involved, yeah?
So he comes into this Cervantes is tossed into this very drab, like...
With his manservant.
with his best friend,
Yeah.
who then plays his other best friend in the fantasy world. But he gets thrown into this dark environment, and he's immediately just set upon by these people who have lost everything and who have given up on a lot of what they would be hopeful for in life, other than we have moments where things kind of peek through that they want to believe in something
There's a spark.
again.
There's always a spark, yeah.
And then Cervantes has the opportunity to kind of show them this world that he's built in his head, that not everything has to stay the way that it is to you right now. You can always keep that hope and project it out and let it connect with other people and kind of pass when you use one candle to light another candle that someone else is holding, and
cool,
it goes
cool. I
around
like that.
the
Yeah,
prison. It's
And what's
it's
wrong
very-
with hoping? You know,
Yeah.
go ahead, hope. You know, look at it a little better.
There are
Look at
very-
another side of something. There's nothing wrong with that. So why don't you give it a try? And then playing, you dual role, the manservant of his, but also Sancho, the sidekick. But in this, it's like you guys have been doing this before. We assume.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, we get arrested and we have a trunk full of our acting supplies, so it's obvious that like we've been traveling around with this show, probably workshopping it and showing it to people. Does this work? We were probably grabbing people from the audience, like, here's a muleteer hat, go, join in. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things.
And it's
where,
the age of comedias nuevas in Spain, so you know we would have had these wonderful stories, and then of course you got Commedia dell'arte happening over in Italy, which are traveling all over. So it's kind of cool that these you guys are like this traveling group that put on these shows there. But you got arrested for something different. As any actor knows, we got to have a side gig.
Yeah, I have a side gig. Yeah, so we were tax collectors, and the church, I guess at that time, churches paid taxes.
They weren't supposed to.
They weren't supposed to. I guess we thought they were supposed to, and we were like, "Hey, where's our taxes?" And they were like, "Nah." So we were like,
They didn't want to pay the
"Close it
property.
down, buddy." And yeah, the Inquisition didn't really like that too much.
No.
So that's what we got in trouble
No,
for.
hands off the church.
Yeah.
Don't touch the church. Great. So you're telling the story, and you enlist the help of everybody in the prison. All the other prisoners help you tell the story, and they willingly do it, which is kind of fun about passing that light. I like that, passing the candle. So you sort of do it, and then you're constantly working through this thing. You're
Oh my gosh. So I mean, like, putting on the armor
alone, getting him
Yeah.
dressed.
is. I remember watching the show back like before years ago, and I was just like, "Oh man, he's got to put on all that armor. That's got to be nerve-wracking." And now I have to do it, and it's nerve-wracking. But we'll get it.
But
And
that's
then
what
there's-
rehearsals
yeah,
are for.
And then there's the setting the scenes. You know, every time we have a scene change, you know, sometimes the muleteers will help. But a lot of it is just like, okay, I put this here, and then the chair's got to be here. So it's a lot of like back and forth.
And like you know how to do it. It's like okay, just I know what he's going into next, and so
Right, I
he's
mean,
starting
yeah.
the spiel, going on with the story, and then grab stuff out of the trunk there. So how do we get Christine into this? What happens? How do we get you lassoed into this?
I'm one of the prisoners in the Inquisition oubliette, wherever they stuck us. And I'm in there for an unrelated reason. I'm not there with them. I don't know them. But when the play is sort of sold by Cervantes as being a form of entertainment and something to, you know, you're in prison. What else are you going to do?
Right, I love that. It's like
So-
you got somewhere else you got to be.
Yeah, right. So I join into it playing a kitchen wench / prostitute and become a part of the story. But in becoming part of the story for the entertainment, I think the prisoner me is also sort of changed and imbued with this message of hope and, you know, finding the light in prison.
Great. And he's a different kind of man. You're just not used to this older gentleman that
Right.
and within the story.
Yeah, it's something really neat because a lot of musicals have romantic subplots where it's like, oh, the guy and the girl and they're going to get together, and the sort of love relationship that Aldonza finds with Don Quixote is different. It's more platonic and more based on like thoughts of chivalry.
It's not like a dating
Yeah.
sort of interest that
Total
they share.
respect.
Yeah.
Respects you, and you're not used to having the respect, and Adon's not used to having it. And I think it obviously grows on the prisoner that you play as well.
Yeah.
That get touched by this spark of hope that hope gets ignited there. Cool. And then we've got a lot of other people in the show that kind of dilly-dally and all these other kind of things. So we know they play like muleteers, they play innkeepers because he's on these journey there. And what's brilliant about this show, I think, directing it is watching you guys grow and learn to tell the story. And I think that's the fun part of going, we are in this prison, but it's this magic land of make-believe, and we buy into it, and just grabbing something that becomes a prop, not having to be into realism and see the entire thing there. So this show is considered the very first concept musical. And so I want to talk a little bit about what concept musical means when we get back from our break. So keep that in mind. We're going to take a short break, but come back and join Ethan, Christine, and Kevin to talk more about Men of La Mancha.
This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help. And slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to Bergenstages Television. I have our wonderful guests, Ethan Bunnell, Christine Dunning, and Kevin Maphis, talking about our upcoming production of Men of La Mancha. And I kind of threw something at you before we left about the concept musical, but before we get into talking about what that really means, there's an interesting thing they do about music in the show. The music only happens in the story within the story until the very end. Interesting. I just think it's kind of like we were studying something. There's a show that all the musical numbers are in the dream sequence. I won't get into it, but it's Lady in the Dark. But it's got the music in it. So the prisoners don't sing as prisoners. They sing as muleteers, which is kind of cool. So I love the music in the show. So I think I've convinced you to sing one of the songs a cappella for us. Can you give us a setup? How do we get into this moment here?
So my master, Don Quixote, sends me to give a missive to his lady Dulcinea. I memorized it and I read it to her, and then she starts wondering why I go on these adventures. Like, why am I wasting my time with this lunatic?
With this crazy guy.
And I don't. Well, we'll see. The song gives the reason.
Okay, good.
Whether it's a good one or not.
Good. So, Christine, if you're going to get us into this, I'll lean into you.
Why do you follow him?
Oh, that's easy to explain. It's because.
Why?
I'm telling you. It's because.
Why?
I like him. I really like him. Tear out my fingernails one by one. I like him. I don't have a very good reason. Since I've been with him, cuckoo nuts have been in season. But there's nothing I can do. Chop me up for onion stew. Still I'll yell to the sky, though I can't tell you why, that I like him.
It doesn't make any sense.
That's because you're not a squire.
All right, I'm not a squire. So how does a squire squire?
Well, I ride behind him, and then he fights. And then I pick him up off the ground.
But what do you get out of it?
Oh, what do I get? Why, already I've gotten.
You've got nothing. Why do you do it?
I like him. I really like him. Pluck me naked as a scalded chicken. I like him. Don't ask me for why or wherefore, 'cause I don't have a single good because or therefore. You can barbecue my nose, make a giblet of my toes, make me freeze, make me fry, make me sigh, make me cry, still I'll yell to the sky, though I can't tell you why, that I like
brilliant. Thank you. That's great. And so this fits wonderfully in the show because it's the first time you really have a moment with him in the show, and you do spend a couple of. It's a nice scene between the two of you there. But it's such a great song, so thank you for singing it a cappella for us. And then you sing another great song later on when you go back to kind of entertain him, which is...
A little gossip, a little chat.
Little gossip, a little chat. What are some of the other great numbers from this show? Christine, what else do you sing?
Aldonza is a great song. That's one of my favorites in the show. What Does He Want of Me is another really beautiful
ballad.
song. Yeah, which when they did the revival, they cut it out of the show, but you graciously put it back into the show. So
it needs it. It shows a side of her beginning to an arc to her as opposed to getting from here to here. It kind of goes, oh, there's a little in between stuff.
Yeah, it's such a gift. And then Ethan has this very little known song.
Yeah, very
What do
barely
you
noticeable.
sing? Yeah, what's
The Impossible Dream.
That one's everybody sang for graduation for years after that, but yeah.
Really?
Oh my gosh, that was a big graduation song.
was it?
Oh, totally.
That makes sense, yeah. And then, you have the title song.
Man of
Man of
Yeah, the opening song is a lot of fun. I just did this cool monologue that is really fun to perform.
And it's fun watching you put. Go ahead.
Putting on my Don Quixote makeup, where I'm gluing on this big gray old man beard and big bushy eyebrows, and then I stand up and Kevin armors me up, and I get to turn around with my lance, and it's a very fun moment.
And you're there, ta-da!
My favorite song right now is It's All the Same, though, because I got to watch it for the first time. I like the Muleteers. It's a very fun.
Oh yeah, everybody gets involved in that.
We got cup choreography.
Yeah.
And clapping.
The clapping. Yeah, very, very Spanish.
Yes.
So
Very
I like that one a
Sevillian.
lot.
It's Sevillano.
And I really like the ending.
And you have Dulcinea. You have the song Dulcinea,
I
which
love
is, I think, is
Dulcinea,
a wonderful ballad
beautiful song.
that he gets there too. So it's really filled with some beautiful
It's very
music
good
in here.
music.
And Jess Abrams is our music director, and we can't sing praises of her enough that she kind of really.
No, she'd yell at us.
Or
for
she'd
singing
yell at us
it.
if we didn't sing praises
vocal
of
rest,
her. And Ross playing piano. It's great to have the
Super
accompanist there, which he's great at. I have Peter Helf as our assistant director, which is helping, kind of working with kind of the individual things that we need to say. Go work with an actor and with some of the improvisation, because this show really has an improv quality. Am I right? Do you feel like it does, even though it's scripted, it feels improvised, especially what you guys are doing.
It all feels like it's happening in the moment. Yeah.
I kind of have to convince the prisoners to hop into these scenes where I'll say very suggestively please do what I need you to do. Here's a costume.
Yeah. And Norma's like, I get a costume.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll do it.
And they end up being a lot more receptive to it than Cervantes probably initially thinks. But it ends up going well, and we get through it.
We get through it. Manito is our choreographer. There's not a lot of choreography, thinking what we were talking earlier about needing to be a triple threat of this. There is movement in it for you guys, but then we have a couple of dancers, or a few dancers that have to do a few of the dance routines in there, and they're really fun. I love the more there's this I want to call more belly dancer kind of thing that come on and seduce you. How do I?
Yeah, I guess that's
in
the
a way,
point, right?
distract
To
us.
Distract
Yeah.
you. There you are. Distract you and then steal from you on life's journey there. Cool. So we've got them. We've got Stephen Porter doing our set, which this is the first one Stephen's done, which I think is a fun set. Yeah.
So
It's
far,
amazing.
it looks great.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the drawbridge.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait.
Drawbridge coming down steps.
The levels are all really
And it's
fun.
all in this prison, which is, I think, my love as director of the show is it doesn't go to all these different locations. We make this prison become that location. And like putting a hat on someone and they become the character, we just move a bench over here and it becomes that sort of thing. And I think that's, the beauty of storytelling.
Yeah.
The simplicity of it kind of works, and that's what I'm loving about it. We've got Jared and Miru co-designing the lights, which there'll be, you don't know yet, but there'll be wonderful light effects along the way. Dan Conrad's got his work out as props because these are interesting props.
There's a lot.
Lots of swords and spears and lances and all sorts of things like that as well. Good. And then, of course, the rehearsal process that you're going to. So I know at this point we've just kind of done a stumble through of the show. What does that mean? Because we talk about a stumble through, people go, I don't know what that is. Is it?
I mean, so yeah, we have been memorizing this whole time, and now the stumble through is when we really get to put that to the test. So the scripts go away. One person is there to read us our lines. If we don't know it, we'll say line, and they'll feed it to us. But we're stumbling through, as in, we don't have our safety blanket of the script with us in order to be like, what's my lines? What are my blockings? It's all locked away here, and if something goes wrong, we'll just stumble our way to the next scene.
And just to get to the next scene, because we haven't really, that was the first time we did the whole play, to go from beginning to end. And I hate overusing the word arc of the play, but you see where it goes along the journey there. And I think there's a big learning that I loved it. You guys probably didn't know that I really loved the stumble through, because it can be like, but it shows that we do have a play there. And I think that's right. Christine, do you feel it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the first time you get to feel the play pick up momentum and kind of see the whole storyline and arc of it. Because usually when we go scene by scene, you don't get to feel the energy of the entire thing. So going from beginning to end. And then, of course, the best part is putting the scripts down and then being able to, like, there's another actor there. Oh, I can look at them, right? Because you're not like this in your script. And that's when, like, magic starts to happen.
I love it, yes, the magic. And Ethan, you've already said you didn't even hear that song before that they were doing with her.
Yeah.
And you went, oh, wow. Because we've been doing everything else separately. You know, if we don't need Cervantes there, you're not called to the rehearsal, so we'll work with who else. So I think that happened for a lot of people yesterday. They hadn't seen the ending of the play. It was like, okay, now that's what's going to happen, because we only needed those people that are in that moment of the play there as well there. So go back into what a concept musical is. And a concept musical, again, this is the very first one that came out. It came out of the golden age of musical theater, ended basically with Fiddler on the Roof in 1964. And then this musical is going to come out. It'll be the first one to say, well, it's nice that it's plot, but the plot is not the important thing. It's the message that you walk away from is bigger than the plot. Do you find that true? I'm throwing this at all of you to say, do you find the theme is more important than the plot?
For sure. I mean, for me, I've loved this play for 10 years now. Seen it a couple times, and that's what I remember from it every time. Like, yeah, the songs are great, and the Don Quixote is awesome, and Sancho's great, and he's hilarious. But every time I walk away from it, I walk away feeling hopeful and just loving myself and what I'm doing, and seeing the best in other people, which is kind of like that core message of and life can be good. Like, it can.
Come on, guys.
I promise you all.
And I think Aldonza says the world's a dung heap, but I think she sees the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, it's so funny, because I feel like part of the definition of concept musical should be you can't actually talk about it without starting to cry, because I feel like every time I go to explain to somebody what this show is about, I feel myself getting choked up.
Definitely.
And it's not about what happens. Like you said, the set is not lots of set changes. The props are not big ornate props. They're all kind of like found materials that these prisoners have. It's the storyline behind it that is going to make everybody leave the theater with their tissues crumpled in their hands.
And this is Cervantes telling the story. Do you feel that this plot is fun? It's fun telling these stories, but you're out to get to that message? Do you feel that's
absolutely.
A goal
it's both to me, and I feel Cervantes kind of feels it towards the end, and the feeling that he tries to give to everybody else in the prison. It's just very reassuring and comforting that it doesn't always. You may be in this prison for the rest of your life. You might die here. You might get called up by the Inquisition and die in an hour, but you don't have to be miserable, because you have yourself and you have these other people who have shared this experience with you.
And you feel it at that last moment as you leave, too.
Yes.
Good. We're not going to give any more away, but we do want you to come see our production of Man of La Mancha. It opens on December 1st in the Saccone Theater. Go to tickets.bergen.edu to get your tickets. It's a wonderful production with, of course, our three wonderful main characters, Ethan Vanel, Christine Dunning, Kevin Mavis. Thank you for being on the show, and we will see you at the theater.